all of those down, you're excused. Thank you everybody for being here. This is the Complete Count Committee meeting for Monterey County. We meet monthly. How many of you are here for the first time? Okay. Maya, you're welcome. Representing South County, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm considered here.
And you see them, yes.
Let me come.
Good old buddy, it's always nice to see your friends. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to give you start off with some background, but before I get into that, I should probably acknowledge some VIPs in the room. Can y'all guess who they are? It's not just me, right?
Rosemary.
We have Supervisor from District 3, Mr. Chris Lopez. From Seaside. And then all others who are elected, and I may not be aware, welcome, thank you for being here. Yes, so we want to start off with, just because we have a really tight agenda, we have a lot to discuss, so we kind of need to get going. So the second slide, for those who are here for the first time, just a little bit of background. Why are we here? Why is this committee formed? We were established in October of last year, and since then we've been working towards this purpose, which is to successfully reach and connect everyone in Monterey County, because everybody counts, and we know that we're facing a whole lot of challenges with this 2020 census being all digital, with even more limited resources at the federal level dedicated to this effort, so meaning that a lot of the charge falls on California and then the local jurisdictions, which is us, the counties and cities. So with that, we have a responsibility to design and implement a full multifaceted approach to addressing and reaching the hard-to-count populations. We're looking at data from the 2010 census that is going to tell us who was a hard-to-count population, where are those populations, and then what are the most effective ways for us to reach them, motivate them, and get them to participate in the survey. So that's up to us, because you are all the experts in the room. You all work with the community. You know the community. You are of the community. So your input and your participation in this committee is super important. I can't emphasize that enough. So that's in a nutshell who we are. So I put this first because I'm super excited. We have a website now. So it just got launched this afternoon. We have an intern in our office who has been working on developing it, so we'll be putting this everywhere. I would encourage you to put a link in your website, in your organization, your cities, wherever you represent. Add this to your website so that way the community knows that you are a part of this effort, and if anybody needs additional information that you might not be able to upload onto your website right away, they can come here. We have someone dedicated to focusing on making sure that this website is updated periodically. So we also have a Facebook page, but I know you guys all already liked it, right? Right? Okay, so that's not me. That was done a couple of months ago, but I'm still excited about it. And then, so I'll talk about like the regional approach. Basically, more for the benefit of those who are here for the first time. It's important that you know that we were very intentional about how we determined who were the hard-to-count populations in our county. We looked at it from every region within our county, looking at different sectors of our county, not just geographically, but also the people that we serve within the community members. So we focused on North County, South County, Salinas Peninsula, and then in some cases we've even looked at our supervisorial districts. So we're looking at it from different angles, right? And this is our Complete Count Committee structure. We have a steering committee who has not quite yet, we're still in the forming stage for that. Basically, it consists of action team representatives, and the following action teams are the media action team, which consists of local media, is involved and engaged in that, community-based organizations who can help us with identifying the best strategies for using media to our best advantage, leveraging resources across the board as well. And then our outreach action team, which focuses on outreach strategies that are going to work countywide. We fully understand and know that Some strategies will work really well for other communities that might not quite work well for other parts of our county. So we're being very intentional about how do we develop those strategies as well. And again, we have various organizations represented, including schools, health clinics, city and county libraries, and city and county representatives as well. So that's an all hands-on deck type of committee. And then we have our Salinas action team, because one of the things we also acknowledge is that Salinas, being the largest populated community in our county, has all of the hard-to-count populations that both the census identified and we identified here locally. So it was important for Salinas to have its own kind of separate, it's not separate, we're all together, right? Okay, that's not the right word. But I mean, it's action team on its own as well. And that is spearheaded by the city of Salinas, so very helpful to have them taking the lead on that and working specifically around that. And the good thing is that we're all working together, so there's connection and there's no, there's really strong connection between what we're doing at the outreach action team as well as the city focused action team. And then we have the city county action team. This is comprised of city representatives, mostly planners, but mayors are welcome, city managers are welcome, and basically we get into the weeds about the technical aspects of this work. So looking at GIS mapping, of which don't ask me any questions because I know nothing about that, but I just bring them together and they talk about it. And we figure out what are the nuts and bolts of how we need to approach this with the data in mind, using data to help us better deploy our outreach efforts, because it makes no sense to dedicate some of our outreach efforts to areas that are very high rated in their self-reporting and their self-taking. So we need to look at the hot spots, the areas that need our limited resources the most. So this team focuses on all of those details. And and we've talked about other governmental related stuff, type boring stuff, right? So that's where a lot of those things happen. So that's a complete, our structure. Does anybody have any questions about it? Any questions, no concerns? Because this has been up here like every meeting, so I know it's like you're great. Okay, so the next. So here I'd like to welcome our partners with the Census Bureau and invite you, Christina, up to share some updates from the Census Bureau directly. So,
Yes. So it's a pleasure to be with you all, and I wanted to thank Mayor Open for coming by. I appreciate it. Thank you, Supervisor, and everyone that's here. You're, like Rosemary said, so crucial to this work. The reality is that Tori and I, who are serving Monterey County, it's our job to make sure that you're resourced, but you're the experts. It's very different when the community hears about the census from you, a trusted voice, than when they hear it from the federal government. So we really want to collaborate with you, and if you have any questions or concerns, or you get questions that you can't answer, we want you to feel comfortable calling us, texting us, emailing us, but it's our job to make sure you're supported with any information that you may need. So please reach out. And thank you to those who have made time to meet with me. I really appreciate it. I know you're all very busy. I really don't have too many updates for you this time, except for we really are working to hire another person to come on onto the Monterey County Partnership Specialist, which is what Tori and I are, team, and we're hoping that it'll be another bilingual person. So it's a salary position through the Department of Commerce. It's a little different than the recruitment that we're doing in general, and we definitely need your help with. And so I know I forwarded that link to Rosemary, and she'll be forwarding it to you too. But the position is closing. They've just extended it to April 1st. So if you know anyone that has really good relationships with the community that works, that lives in Monterey County and is a Spanish speaker as well and would like to help with the census efforts, there's a lot of great benefits, please encourage them to apply, and I can forward you the link if you need it. Yeah, that's it. There we go. So it's a work at home position, and there's some more details there. The link is long, so you may not be able to jot it down, but like I said, I'm happy to forward it to you. I know that Rosemary has posted it on social media as well, and she can get that information if you ask her, but I can get it to you too. And the other thing has to do with just reminding us all about census confidentiality. I know that continues to be the biggest concern in our community. So just please, again, feel free to forward those questions to me. focus on the part that we can control, right? So we can't control the political climate, we can't control how people will respond to our message, but we can control that they get the facts, they hear the message. So I look forward to collaborating with you all. And that vein, I want to remind you that I'm available to you if you need somebody to come out to your organization and do a presentation on the census. Whether it's in English, Spanish, or if it's bilingual, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm going to be holding trainings in Monterey County soon, once a month or so, specifically for organizations to come on board and help you develop your Spanish language messaging. Sometimes folks don't really feel it's a little daunting to develop a whole page on information that you may not feel as familiar with. So I'm happy to help you develop your messaging for your organization, or just simply come out and talk to your constituents. So, in short, I want you to know that I'm your partner and I'm here to serve you. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Are there any questions?
Yes, in terms of that position, so is there a degree required for that? And if a person has a criminal background, would that prohibit them from being able to apply for that?
So to be honest, those are specific human resource questions that I would want to make sure that I got you in contact with the right person. But what I can tell you is that in general, U.S. Census positions do require that you're a citizen, do require that you're at least 18 years old. I know because I applied for the partnership specialist position, obviously, that there are different grades. So depending on your education and background, you're placed within that hierarchy. So I would just encourage you to apply. Don't let them say no, they need to, but you apply if you really do need great candidates. And I know just by the fact that you're in this room, that you're probably our best way to reach that person. I'll forward you the link directly. Yes, sir.
Christina, can you share with us a little bit about, or as much as you know about what the ramp up is going to look like as we come into census next year in terms of the additional staff that's going to be brought on board here locally? I know that I went back to DC about a month ago and spent some time in the Department of Commerce asking some questions specifically about what the rollout was going to look like, and they did explain that they had a lot more applications than they expected for census workers. And so I'm just curious when those people are going to start coming on board, and how many people are going to be dedicated to Monterey County, and kind of what that hierarchy is going to look like for that time.
Thank you for your question, Jeff. So my answer is I can give you some of that information now, and then I'll have to follow up on other pieces, but I'll make sure to get you an answer. Basically, the position that I'm talking to you about, this partnership specialist position, is a little different than the recruiting that we're doing in general for census workers, because it's specifically for Monterey County to develop partnerships with the community, and it's a salary position. Most of the big hiring that we're going to be doing is to support what most folks associate with the census, which is the enumerator, with the operation. But there's more than just the follow-up enumerator operation. There are other operations. So this year we have, for example, coming up this summer, something called address canvassing, where folks are hired to come and actually visually confirm that a structure is matching our data. So for those kinds of operations, and there's 4 more coming up next year to count folks experiencing homelessness, to count group quarters, people living in, for example, a senior home or in foster care or in college dorms. So there's different operations, and the way I understand it is that we're hiring a big pool of people. So there is one website, and it's uscensus.gov. I know that /jobs, 2020census.gov. 2020census.gov/jobs, and I can forward you the flyers on that. So basically the way it works is to apply there, and we're just amassing the biggest pool of people that we can, and as the need arises, you'll be called and offered a position. So it's basically we're hiring as many folks as we can to meet the needs, because I know that our priority is to have people from the community working in the community, knocking on your doors. That makes sense. So I can't give you an exact number off the top of my head, but I definitely can either connect you with someone who will be able to give you that information or get that to you soon. Does that help? It's 20 minutes. It's US. Thank you. 2020census.gov.jobs, that's where you want to apply for just a general pool of hourly employment, and that employment is flexible for Monterey County, is between $20 to $22 an hour. And then for usajobs.gov is where you would apply to the partnership specialist position that I just referenced, and that's for that one position for a Spanish-speaking person. And I know there's more planned, but for now, that's the one that's open.
And since it says earn extra income, does it mean that people that currently have a job could actually expect to work in the evenings and on the weekends?
Yes, that's one of the great benefits of this work, is that the schedule is very flexible, and you get to choose. And the other benefit, Rosemary, I don't want to take over the agenda, but the other benefit is that it's you work from home, so in other words, the moment you step out of your house, you're on the clock. Mileage is reimbursable and training is paid.
I wanted to ask something, or ask more than anything. I was at one of the state's complete count committee meetings about a month ago, and the representative from the U.S. Census Bureau at the state level was asked a question. He was asked a question about the jobs and the hiring process, and I know you mentioned that it's required that they be a U.S. citizen, but the complete count committee there asked him about legal residents and DACA recipients, if they might be eligible, especially if filling positions becomes a challenge. And they indicated that it was, but it was like the last step. So it would be great to have some of that confirmation for us here locally, so that we know that that's a possibility and it might be open to not just U.S. citizens, but legal residents and others.
Thank you for that question. So right now, I do know that it's U.S. citizens that are hiring. However, there is some conversation I've heard, but again, I want to confirm that for you, that if that pool is exhausted, then they would consider a U.S. resident. And also, the question about criminal background comes up a lot, and I would just encourage you to encourage the community to just apply, because it's really on a case-by-case basis, depending on how long the incidents happen, the nature of the criminal record, all those things are weighed. So definitely don't encourage people not to disqualify themselves, to please apply.
Because we have a lot of people that are getting their crimes reduced to misdemeanors and some out of incarceration in federal prison, and some of them are going to be job parole. And so I just want to know, kind of like, if I'm seeing a lot of those people, then could they be encouraged to apply, or should they just not apply?
They should apply.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to hear no, right? But they're likely not to, so I think it's important to apply. And we do give preferences to U.S. veterans as well. Oh, and one more quick thing. My contact information was on the website. Again, please do contact me if you have any questions or you require a presentation in Spanish. I just come up and give me your card and I'll follow up on that. Thank you.
Okay, so the next biggest event that we're hosting here in Monterey County is our press conference, our call to action. I like to call it a party. So everybody, please help spread the word. The flyers have gone out in emails, so make sure you got that. It's on social media as well, so that you can put that on your websites or send it out to your contacts. And so we have a very robust agenda, so it's going to be really exciting. It starts at 11, and we'll have a break in between, so it's not 11 to 2 all the way straight, in case anyone gets scared. We will have a break in between, and then because it is a call to action, we're going to invite folks to come into the library. This is at the Castroville Library, the Monterey County Free Libraries. So invite them to come in and have a discussion. We'll have a presentation, a short one where we'll show and share more details, like what we've shared here, a bit about this, and invite those who are in attendance to join the Complete Count Committee, or connect with us and support our efforts in one way or another. So it's going to be a discussion as well as a press conference. Any questions about the conference? Yes.
When is the press conference part?
That's the beginning.
Okay.
That's it's from like 11 to 12, 12:30 or so. Any other questions? Okay, so here's a couple of updates from the statewide updates. As you know, our funds haven't changed yet. We know that there's a distributed to the counties, we don't know yet, but this is where we are right now. We already entered into agreement with the state, and we have our strategic plan due May 6th, so it's right around the corner. And a portion of it goes to our administrative costs, and that's what it's supposed to cover, your administrative costs, your outreach, and your media. So we have a lot of great strategies, and they're very expensive strategies, so we know we're gonna blow this budget. But again, we're working to build a budget that shows actual costs, because we want to take it around our community and ask other deep pockets to help us and support us in different ways. So our philanthropic groups in the county have expressed interest, and we're just looking at specifics, so we'll figure that out, and so everybody will be kept up to date as that continues to develop. Let me see, then obviously our media, we need to exhaust all of our media contacts in as many ways as possible, so that's something that we have strategies in there as well. The administrative CBO allocation, if you remember, this was the regions, that the counties are divided up into regions throughout the state, and we are in Region 5, so there are 6 counties in there, including us. It's basically up and down the Central Coast, from Ventura County up to Santa Cruz County and San Benito County. And that was an RFP, and it was awarded to Ventura County's Community Foundation. I'm sorry, I don't have a complete name there. It's the Ventura County Community Foundation. The requirement was that it be a nonprofit, a community-based organization who had extensive experience in grant making and had the infrastructure for that. And so that was the awarded bid. And so that means that the allocation from this pot of funding to us in Monterey County is that amount, $267,688. So we are in conversations now about how that's going to work in terms of how do they distribute that to us. And then we also need to look at our plan and look at the strategies and figure out what is the best way for us to use these funds, because this is in addition to the 400. So we have a couple of ideas. We talked about the potential digital tools. If you remember, a couple of months ago, Community Connect Labs came to show us what they have to offer, and they are contracted with the state as well, so we know that there's some continuity there. So that's a possible allocation there, but we still need to iron out those details. They just announced about a week ago that there are additional funds that were allocated to the county offices of education throughout the state. So MCOE here was awarded $30,000, and we are currently in conversations as well, and we have some meetings scheduled to discuss how do they leverage these resources with the strategies we're doing, and how, because as you remember, most of our outreach strategies also include schools and education. So how do we connect there and make sure that we're all on the same page and we're supporting each other with our strategies. So those are the updates for statewide at this point. Any questions on these?
In terms of the 267,000, the 2 identified agencies, if Santa Cruz were to get it, is that now no longer on the table?
It's no longer on the table, yes. But it doesn't mean that the strategies that those 2 entities had proposed are completely off the table, because if you remember, we had talked about those strategies anyway before that in our countywide efforts. So we still have to figure out a way. For example, the Village Project was one of the organizations that had identified a need for a center, Census Ambassador Center. So we still know that those are needed throughout the county. So we still have that strategy is still alive and well in our plan. So it's like your thoughts and plans and ideas are not necessarily null and void, but we have to figure it out. Okay, so next. I wanted to just share with you about SWORD, because, and this gets a little technical, it has a video that I don't think we have time to show you now, but I still want to show the link so that you can look it up. It's on YouTube. SWORD is the portal that the state is using to read the response rates updated period, they'll be in real time. So this is a system that our city county team is looking at, and we have requested and have been accepted to be a beta test site for the state, which I think is really smart. So I'll give kudos to the city of Salinas for requesting that because they gave us the push. We want to be involved in that because that's really important for us to get to know what are the potential challenges or snags that might come up in that, so that when it goes live, we're ready next year. We're already very familiar with the system. We know how it works. We know what to expect, and we have gone through the process of learning with the state. So that is something that we're a part of. And the next slide gives you the video. The video goes into detail. It's very informative, especially if you're not a very technical person like myself. I'm not, so I don't. It was helpful to learn about how this system works. So I recommend on your free time, when you have no other great TV shows to watch this video. It's like about 5 or 6 minutes, and I wanted to show it to you today, but we have so much more to talk about, so I think you really want to see it? Okay. Yes, so here's the meat of our meeting today. What I would really like to get into is to focus on 2 different areas. One being, I would like us to we have our outreach action team. Some of you in this room have not engaged in that group yet, but today is your opportunity to do that here. But we'd like to just start to talk about what are the nuts and bolts that need to be integrated into the development of a volunteer program. Because that's one of our strategies, and it's probably the one that's going to take the most work and to put together. And we need to start on it as soon as possible, because what I am noticing, and my counterparts in other counties across the state, is they are already beginning to participate in community outreach events. They're already hosting events themselves. And so, Monterey County doesn't want to stay behind. We want to be ahead of that too. So we feel a little bit of pressure to let's get that ball going, and let's make sure that we have identified the best ways to develop this volunteer program. And there's a lot of things that we need to talk about in that process. And also create and have a master events calendar that is going to show, which are the prime events that we feel or that you are aware are going to be the best ones for us to deploy some of these volunteers and have a census table, things like that. And then we might also want to consider hosting our own census-centered events next year when we start when the launch actually happens, right? Because we've talked extensively about participating in outreach events that are already existing, like there's events that happen every year, and we know that a lot of people attend them and they're excellent, but maybe we want to host something in every district to start it off, to kick it off earlier in the first part of next year. So those are the types of things I would like us to get into and to talk about today. And then, any questions about the purpose of this group today? Okay, and then we have our media action team. We really want to focus on content development, but this is where I'm going to turn it over to our partner here with Building Healthy Communities, Jesus Valenzuela, who can give you more details about what the goals of this work group is going to be today.
Cool. Thanks, Reverend. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, Jesus Valenzuela with Building Healthy Communities. And we've been really working with the media action team to get a good strategy for reaching the hard-to-reach, hard-to-count populations. And so one of the things that we're talking about with Rosemary is going to the different regions and finding who the trusted spokespeople are and creating an ad around that person, right? So in Salinas, it could be somebody in South County. I'll show you a picture of somebody that I'm thinking about. And yeah, folks that people in that community know that can encourage them to participate in the census. And so like Rosemary said, we're going to be breaking down to different regions, but even the different regions have their own little cultures. We have here Castroville group in Greenfield, and he always says Greenfield is very different from King City, even though we say South County all the time, right? So it's really honing in on hyper-local spokespeople. So this is a very rough draft, but it's something to So as an example, right? So imagine something like this. It could be in black and white, it could be in color, it could be in a tone. And this is Andres from South Monterey County. He is a leader in the indigenous communities there. And anybody that sees that in Greenfield will know, oh yeah, that's him. You know, oh, and he's telling me to participate in the census, right? Again, this is a very, very rough draft put together, but it is so, we can imagine other photos from other regions to be like that, right? Imagine somebody that's well known in Seaside, somebody that's well known in East Salinas, somebody that's well known in Las Lomas. You know, we get their photo or we get a video of them, and then we get a quote, you know, our hashtag, and then it's targeted to that community. We can utilize features like Facebook, Instagram to really geo-filter, geofence the ads, so that if I'm in Las Lomas and I log into Facebook, I will get the Las Lomas ad. If I'm in King City and I log into Facebook, I will get the King City ad. So that's kind of what we are envisioning. And I don't know, Rosemary, do you want to look at the timeline or do you want to make that page? Okay, so obviously creating this type of content takes quite a bit of time. I know that Rosemary was a little bit nervous because we're behind some of the bigger cities, but we're way ahead of other communities. But, you know, let's keep on going with the pace that we want to go. We are hoping that we can launch something by July. That gives us April, May, and June. So to launch a media ad campaign by July, that means creating the content, right? Vetting it with this group, seeing what y'all like, what you don't like, what you think is going to work or not. And then also getting with representatives from hard-to-reach populations and have a conversation with them, right? Reaching out to folks, you know, like the Village Project. You know, I know that Mr. Gina, you mentioned a lot of the formerly incarcerated people. I know that in Salinas we have people from Milpa too who are formerly incarcerated and are very hesitant. So, you know, why don't we get a group of folks that are often hesitant or afraid and ask them what it will take. So creating something like that, getting information from them, and then generating a campaign that's specific to that hard-to-reach population, right? So what we're envisioning is we can take some time in late April to May to do that, and then use that the rest of the time until July to create the content, and then July we just launch it. Does that seem realistic, feasible, too ambitious? What do y'all think? What are your reactions to any of this?
I think it's good.
Cool, good.
I think it's powerful.
Cool. Alright. Do y'all imagine folks that might want to participate, or maybe you yourself want to be one of these trusted spokespeople? Right? So, in that event, I only printed 30 because there's a pretty big group. It's cool. I'm going to pass this out. If you are not interested in any of this, it's okay. That's totally okay too. But on it, there are options. Attend the census, kickoff, help coordinate, a trusted spokesperson to be part of the ad campaign, be part of the ad campaign, and then help coordinate conversations with representatives. So if you're interested in helping out, just check one of these, put your name and number, and then we'll reach out. Does it?
Yeah, the only critical that I have is we kind of have a broad idea of hard-to-reach populations. Would it be a good idea to come up with a calendar of maybe a focus? Because it sounds like focus groups.
Yeah.
And so like do a focus group of farm workers,
Yes.
homeless, formerly incarcerated, you know, whatever that looks like.
That's a good idea. So I know that in the outreach and media action team, they generated like a preliminary list of hard to reach, but that doesn't mean we gotta go with that list. So if you're interested, shoot me an email or fill this out, and we'll get you the list of what we imagine to be a hard to reach, hard to count population. Youth is definitely one of the big ones, so, you know.
Breaking off that too is, as you bring it up, the geographic too is part of the subgroup, because like you noted right here, like this is somebody that's well known in that area. And the second thing, you mentioned something about you could somehow target Facebook where it would trigger, like if somebody logging in from.
Yes, it's called geofencing, and it's actually something we can add to in-house, or I know our friends have been willing to offer that. But it's basically, I upload an ad, let's just say we go with this picture. I upload this picture through the Monterey County Census Facebook and say, I only want this ad to show in either in this zip code or in this city or in this little area of this city. So we do it for Salinas, it won't be the same map for all of Salinas, we can like totally target this, right? So yes, that is.
Can you clarify what it means to be part of the trusted spokesperson ad campaign?
You're down now for us to get your picture and
Oh,
go
to
vote.
be one of the people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other one, help coordinators, to find those people?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm not, I do most of my work in Salinas, but I'm not gonna say I know all of the South County, all of the Peninsula, or all of the North County spokespeople or trusted spokespeople. So that's where your expertise comes into play.
On this sheet, do you want us to tell you what the population maybe that we?
Yeah, if you wanna add a note, just do that and then just put your name, number, and then send it back. Any other questions? I know that we got time to change that, so. Cool.
Okay, so this is where we'll break up into the two groups. So I would like to invite those who are interested in working with the outreach action team and talk about the volunteer development and the master list in the master calendar. This is kind of, I'm going to share this with everybody. I didn't print a whole lot either because that's the other thing. I can't really get everybody to RSVP, so I don't know how many copies to have. And I always try to save trees, so I figured, last time it was about 20, so I'll print 50. Anyhow, I should probably just ask now that I sidetracked there. What is the best way for you to RSVP? Is it like if I send an Outlook meeting to your is that better? Yeah.
It is for me, but I was grateful for the Facebook reminder, because that popped up and I didn't have it on my Outlook. So.
Okay, so I'll do Outlook and continue to do Facebook because most of you are liking and interested and all that stuff. Eventbrite wasn't really working, right? No, okay, all right, I guess I'll do that last one. Okay, so Outlook and Facebook. Anyhow, so those that are able to take a copy, what I would like to do is update this regularly and have it in Google Docs. If you guys all like using Google Docs, so that way, it could be like a repository. People can continue to update it, right? Just don't delete it, but we can do that. So the outreach action team on this side and the media action team on this side. So anybody who wants to focus on the media work or the outreach work. So we'll spend the next about 15, 20 minutes